Welcome back. This is the second video in the series Money Talk. We're going to jump right into the fourth main area of discussion with this thought. Money Talk will be held hostage by your past until you make it more about your future. We're going to look at 10 money relationships that you and your spouse already have right now. Now, let me rattle them off and then we can take a look at each one of them separately. You may think this is common sense, and you would be right. But you'd also be surprised how many couples argue and fight over these things without actually understanding how they have different relationships with each category. So here are the 10 relationships. You ready? Earning, expenses, savings, investments, giving, borrowing, lending, retirement, debt, and begging. And when you add these 10 relationships up, you have your collective philosophy on money. Let me offer some brief comments in each of these areas just to give you an idea of why it's important you discuss these relationships with your spouse. It's not exhaustive, but hopefully it'll be conversational starters for you. Earning. Who should make more money starts more conflict than you can imagine. I mean, how will you handle things if your spouse makes more money than you do? This already may be an issue in your marriage. Expenses. This is a category that differs from investments because there is a clear difference between needs and wants. Expenses refer to money that is gone forever, like eating out for convenience, clothes that you don't need, stuff that you buy that you didn't really know was even there. All right? That's expenses. Investments are different. This category is more about sacrificing now in order to have more of a future later. I mean, eating out could be an investment if you're investing in a relationship. But you have to talk about these differences and then come to some agreement in order to set up a budget. Savings. Savings is about a discipline to live on less than what you make. You do have to come to common agreement on this for budgeting purposes, and you do have to at times even revisit this. Conflict happens if one or more person is following a different path. Giving. Again, generosity is good for the soul, but it's also another discipline that helps you live on less than what you make. Depending on the house that you grew up in, there may even be a little bit of difference here in your home. Borrowing. Everyone's comfort level differs on borrowing. Couples have to arrive at a middle ground. It's wise not to allow lenders to tell you what you can afford. Lending. Be aware that character matters. Many couples get tangled up because they don't appreciate the differences between them on lending. There will be compromise here, but to decide that before your nephew asks you for a loan. Retirement. Depending on the house you grew up in, this category needs a lot of productive conversations, so you approach it with a similar mindset. I mean, this category over time can change, so you have to constantly revisit it and make sure that you're on the same page. Debt. Most couples wait until both of their comfort levels are reached before they talk about debt. Needless to say, that is not a good idea. So this category is one of those areas of discussion that you really need to visit on a regular basis. The reality is, if you have unsecured debt, then you have no discretionary income, so couples need to talk about this. Begging, final category. How do you feel about asking friends, family for money? Under what circumstances? Are you and your spouse on the same page? Never ask for money in secret without your spouse's knowledge. Now, there are other categories that we could talk about here, probably even more important categories. But listen, if you would arrive at a common understanding on these 10 relationships, then you are going to eliminate a lot of conflict in your marriage. These 10 relationships will give you important and intentional discussion when you sit down to plan. So here's an exercise. You can use this as a couch time, all right? Pick one of these categories, one of these relationships, and discuss this with your spouse and answer these questions. What was your relationship like with this category growing up? What are the differences between us? What challenges do we face because of these differences? And then how do these differences actually help us in our marriage? All right? A great exercise. I really encourage you to do that. Okay, so let's wrap this video up because in this last video, we're going to look at brain development in human beings and how crucial it is to understand that as to why sometimes we do get on two different pages when it comes to money relationships. All right? Be sure you take some time and do the exercise. If you want to watch the whole series and then come back, that's fine. But otherwise, I will see you in the next video.